Welcome to today's Explainer. We're kicking things off by completely deconstructing a really stubborn myth, the idea that building wealth is somehow like winning the lottery. It's just not true. Based on the sources we're diving into today, wealth creation is actually a lot more like an architect's blueprint. It's a highly deliberate construction project that demands a very specific mindset, absolutely ironclad discipline, and relentless strategy. Because let's face it, without a rock-solid foundation, even the most gorgeous house is eventually going to collapse.
Okay, let's dive right into our blueprint for today. First, we'll tackle the myth of easy money, and then we'll look at how to forge a genuinely wealthy mindset. After that, we'll cover the vital importance of discipline, dig into financial planning and strategy, break down offense versus defense, and finally, we'll wrap up with how to create absolutely irresistible momentum.
So on one side, you have these massive myths of instant wealth. You know the ones: obscure secrets, the magic of overnight cash, promises that you'll get rich in your sleep. On the flip side, we have the striking reality. True wealth creation is all about preparation, logic, common sense, and most importantly, building personalized systems that actually work for you. It's a completely logical, step-by-step process. No magic wands here.
That brings us to Section 1, the myth of easy money. We have to bust these illusions right out of the gate, because if we don't, our architectural foundation is going to crumble before we've even laid a single brick.
Now, make no mistake, as our sources point out, earning a six-figure income really quickly is entirely possible. But here is the crucial nuance. This kind of massive success is never magic. Never. It is always the direct result of intense preparation, hard work, and the ability to track down and execute strategies that deeply align with your own strengths. You've got to put in the reps.
Moving right along to Section 2, forging a wealthy mindset. This is the psychological foundation and the absolute bedrock of our entire blueprint.
Our sources introduce this really awesome concept called the Wealth Lighthouse. The core principle is simple but super powerful. Basically, as long as your brain is totally consumed by the daily struggle to just survive, you are literally blind to opportunities around you. But if you can master what they call the foundation prism, you level up to the orange level. That's the sweet spot where your hard work stops being just about pure survival and finally transforms into genuine, flourishing financial growth.
So how do we actually build this mental foundation? Well, first, you have to understand that economics starts right at your kitchen table, with your monthly budget, long before you start worrying about the global economy. Next, and this perfectly illustrates how the wealthy actually think, you need to view wealth as a flow of promises. Cash flows, those are promises paid. Profit and loss, promises kept. And your balance sheet is simply promises made. Finally, you use triangulation, which is just a fancy way of saying you connect the lessons from your past, your actions in the present, and your ultimate vision for the future.
All right, Section 3, the vital importance of discipline. We have our bricks, but now we absolutely need the mortar to hold everything together.
I want to pose a really pivotal question to you, one that echoes throughout all our sources today. Why is financial discipline so incredibly fundamental? Honestly, the answer is pretty brutal. Without uncompromising discipline, you could construct the most beautiful financial house in the world with perfect finishes, and it will still eventually collapse in on itself.
We've all faced that urge to just splurge, right? But at the fundamental infrared level of the Wealth Lighthouse, there's one golden rule. Do not spend more than you make. It is literally the only way to plug the leaks in your finances. You have to use ironclad discipline to say no to non-essentials and instant gratification until your economic base is completely stable. Just be patient. The true wealth to afford all those extras will come later.
Which brings us to Section 4, financial planning and strategy. It's time to transform all that discipline into a concrete, actionable game plan.
Now, what's really interesting here is the massive contrast between the old school and the new school. Traditional planning pushes you to obsess over writing this massive, perfect business plan. But the sources warn us, doing that usually leads straight to analysis paralysis. The modern agile approach focuses immediately on perfecting your cash flow and locking down your security funding. Action takes precedence over theory every single time.
To actually structure this action, the blueprint lays out 3 distinct steps to level up. Step 1, anchor your authority. You need to become a recognized leader in your specific field. Step 2, perfect your processes. Leaders absolutely have to rely on their teams and streamline systems so they don't get drowning in the day-to-day details. And Step 3, build balance. You're looking for that perfect harmony between your immediate cash flow and the long-term growth of your capital.
Next up is Section 5, offense versus defense. Let's talk about tactical execution out on the field.
The absolutely crucial point here is understanding that you are playing on two very different sides of the board. Playing offense is all about hunting down opportunities, growth, expansion, marketing, and sales. That's how you actually increase your wealth. But offense alone isn't enough. You have to play defense to protect what you've built. That means solving internal problems, managing legal compliance, and setting up financial hedging. Basically, defense is what stops your wealth from sliding backward.
So here are the core offensive and defensive strategies. First off, forget the myth of completely passive income where you just sit around doing absolutely nothing. The reality is portfolio income, where your assets are actively managed by a real team. Next, true wealth doesn't come from just multiplying tiny solitary streams of income, it comes from growing incredibly capable teams. And lastly, becoming wealthy doesn't always mean being your own boss. Sometimes it means having the ultimate power to actively choose exactly who your boss will be.
And finally, Section 6, creating irresistible momentum. Let's shift this whole machine into high gear. In the business world, momentum isn't just some physics equation. It is literally the product of who you are multiplied by the speed at which you are moving forward. When a business manages to gather that kind of momentum, it stops being just a regular company. It becomes a total force of nature, an unstoppable force. And here is a totally surprising, counterintuitive secret for maintaining that momentum: Spirit Investments. Our sources talk about the practice of altruistic giving, giving without expecting a single thing in return. Far from depleting your resources, this actually completely reinforces an abundance mindset. It brings a much deeper purpose to your financial journey, and remarkably, it propels your momentum forward even faster.
Which brings us to the end of today's explainer. Faced with all the evidence we've unpacked today, I think the choice is pretty clear. Are you going to keep building your future on that flimsy myth of easy money? Or are you ready to embrace the discipline, forge a wealthy mindset, and actually execute the architect's blueprint? The power to construct a totally indestructible legacy of wealth is entirely in your hands. Thanks so much for joining me today.